Good evening and welcome to the Press Box. I'm Vanessa Johnson, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host. With me are Ty Reynolds and Jeff Richardson. How are you guys doing?
All right, Jeff.
Just fine. Glad to be here.
That's great.
It's been a while for me.
We missed you.
We did. I'd like to remind our viewers that this is a live show, so if you have any questions that you want to ask, give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, guys, let's talk about the Atlanta Knights. They're on a losing streak going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and this really isn't good, Jeff. When you sit there and when you look at this team in the stretch coming down to the playoffs here, you had big games with Cincinnati over the weekend, and then you've got a season-ending game with Las Vegas that they're playing right now. And to end the game or end the season like that with Cincinnati, that just tells me that if they run into these guys in the playoffs, I think psychologically it's going to favor. Well, it's going to hurt the Knights is what it's going to do. I think that's going to be in the back of their mind. They needed to get a split out of this, and they did not get anything. And I really think that that's going to have an effect on them in the playoffs. I did not like the matchups that they had with the game Friday night that we went to. It really looked like to me that Cincinnati was the home team and was getting to make the final decisions on the players and the lines he wanted to put out there.
Well, Ty, you're right. The Knights have lost 4 in a row. They're tied 3-3 tonight. And, of course, this is the last regular season game. So they don't exactly have a lot of momentum going into the playoffs, and those are possibly going to start Thursday night if Milwaukee wins tonight. I think you can place the blame in probably 2 areas. One of them is just the untimely departure of Gino Briaco last month.
Yeah, and it's funny. I didn't think that would have that much of an effect, but it really has.
I think it really has messed up the chemistry of the team. And you've also got to look at the fact that J.C. Bergeron was called up to Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago. Of course, he's injured now, not playing anywhere. But here's the guy that's the best goalie in the IHL, and the Knights have missed him sorely. I don't think Greenlay quite measures up to that kind of can't fill his boots. Can't fill his boots. Let's put it that way.
Right. On the positive side, I really think that not only do you have that big, powerful line with LaRouche, Medill, and Drulia, but now you've got McDougal who's playing really well, and Jim Cummings has come up, and he's played really well with him. That may be another productive line for the Knights, but overall, when they play these big games against big-time clubs like Cincinnati, Las Vegas, or upcoming games such as potentially Milwaukee or San Diego, they're going to need to come out and play, and they did not show it this week.
Considering the fact that they have a new coach, Coach Parrish, how do you think his technique, coaching, will affect them going into the playoffs?
Well, I think, first of all, this is a coach that really wanted the team to get more aggressive, and I don't think that's the style of team that they are. I think they're more of I think they're one of the quicker, faster teams in the league. I think they're playing somebody else's game when they play that type of hockey, even though they do have a few players that are big and strong, like LaPuma, who can play like that. I would go with what got you there. Nubriaco more or less stressed their skating abilities.
Ty, I think you hit it right on the head. Paris wants them to stand up to these big physical teams, and they just don't have enough size on this club to do that. And I wanted to mention Eric Sharon, the big defenseman, was called up to Tampa Bay also. And I think Tony Esposito has assured him that he's going to play with the big club next year. So, that's going to be a big blow to the Knights next year right there.
Yeah, definitely they're going to lose some size then.
I hope everything goes all right for them. But on the other hand, the Braves, everything is going right for them.
Oh, I mean, what else could you ask for? I mean, you got a team that's averaging, over 5 runs a game. The pitching's been great. Kent Merker throws a no-hitter. What else can you ask for? I mean, that's just kind of what we expected, but I really didn't expect a start this good.
But we didn't expect Steve Avery to be the weak link in the rotation at this point, did we?
No, I tell you what, I really didn't expect Ryan Klesko to do what he's done. Javi Lopez, what's been impressive about him is the way he bats with men on base and 2 outs. He's a clutch hitter. I like that a lot. Dion has been coming up, and as usual, when there's men on base, Dion had about a 400 average last year with men on base. Things aren't changing any this year. Dion's knocking in runs. They're getting a lot of production from him in the number 1 spot.
I think it's also interesting that Dion has stolen more bases than Otis Nixon has thus far.
Yeah, not only that, Dion, like I expected, would lead the team in runs scored, and he is leading the team in runs scored right now.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, these are questions are for any of y'all that want to answer. What are your thoughts on the Falcons and the NFL draft coming up in the middle of April? What are their main needs? And if they have to go the Plan B route, which players do you think are marketable in the league?
Okay, thanks for the phone call.
I have another question after this, too.
Oh, okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
I think, first of all, they're going to need to get some help in the secondary. If Antonio Langham is left around, that's who I would really try to get. Let's face it, I don't think Deion Sanders is going to come back. I think he likes baseball a lot, and by the time that he does make his return to the Falcons, they're basically out of it already. It affects the team so much, so that's what I would expect him to do, is to go after a defensive back.
Okay, well, you mentioned Langham, and I don't think he's going to be available. The Falcons don't have a first-round draft pick now. They've traded it for Jeff George.
That's right.
So I think they're looking. They got Chris Dishman from the Oilers in town this week, and they might try to sign him to take Deion's place. And they're also trying to trade for Chris Dolman, which I thought was a fairly interesting move if they can pull that off.
What about D.J. Johnson, the guy from Pittsburgh that came over? You think he'll be an impact player?
The defensive back, what was his name?
D.J. Johnson.
Okay, D.J.
From
Johnson.
Pittsburgh.
Supposed to be an excellent cover man. I think he will make an impact. He'll probably be a starter for the Falcons.
Maybe, but a lot of people, I think, could start for the Falcons. I think that they're really going to need to get some type of pass rush on the quarterback this year. It seemed that when the other team came out and had to score points or had to get a touchdown on them, it was inevitable that they were going to do it. So I think they really have to strengthen up the defense.
Yeah. One last thing. Where is the host from last week?
The host from last week.
The hostess, I should say.
We didn't like her. We told her to get lost.
Is she a regular on the show, or is she
Just kidding. She'll be
All right.
back.
She'll be back. She'll be back next season.
I see. Where does your all seasons go from?
I think we have about 4 weeks off after tonight, and it should start back up around mid-May, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Nice job.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for
Thanks
calling.
for the call.
Okay, back to baseball. Let's talk. Who are this year's dark horses?
Well, I think when you look at dark horses, I think you have to go to the American League West. I think that's the weakest division. There's no pitching in that division at all, hardly. Personally, I think Texas is going to win over there. But if teams like Seattle or California, if they can get in, well, no, California's stretching it. If a team like Seattle can get some pitching and keep players like Fleming healthy, they got an excellent shot at that division over there. That is weak, so I think a club like Seattle is a legitimate dark horse.
Well, you mentioned California. I wouldn't write them off. That division is so weak that I think California has a shot at it. Although the Mark Langston being on the disabled list is a big blow to him. My dark horse is going to be in the National League Central. Is going to be St. Louis Cardinals. I think they're going to win that division.
You think that's a dark horse?
Well, yeah,
I think right away St. Louis is almost a contender in that league automatically.
Well, I think everybody in that division is fairly equal, and Cincinnati seems to be dominating it early here in the first week, but they lost Rob Dibble for half the year. I think the Cardinals have enough pitching and some great outfield depth, and I think they're going to come on and win that division.
Okay, for that division, I like Houston. Okay. I think Houston has got some pretty good pitching, and they've got good young players, and I think they have a real big advantage by playing over 80 games in the Astrodome. Houston's my pick for that Central Division.
Okay. Jeff, you mentioned pitching. Do you think any team has the same pitching in the same class of the Braves?
Well, just offhand, I'd have to say San Francisco is a very close second to the Braves as far as pitching. When they picked up Mark Portugal in the offseason, that gives them three very good starters in Burkett, Swift, and Portugal. Mm-hmm. And they've got the rookie Solomon Torres, who's very highly touted, and I think he may develop into a frontline starter this year. You throw in Rod Beck as the closer, the Braves don't have anybody to match him. So.
Right. Well, when you look at Solomon Torres last year, this is an interesting situation. He came up to the league last year and got shelled, even though he was just about one of the most productive pitchers throughout the minor league systems. What had happened was that he threw so much during the regular season. I think he threw between 250 and 300 innings. I think the guy was just worn out. I think the offseason is going to be a big help for him, and I think that he can come out and give San Francisco a big boost.
Well, you're also looking at the fact that this kid is 22 years old and he gets brought up and thrown into the middle of a pennant race. And it just so happens that every game the Giants lost the last month, he was pitching. So that didn't help his confidence any right there.
No, there's other teams out there that have some pretty good pitching. I think the second best staff in baseball is the Chicago White Sox. I mean, here it is. You got Blackjack McDowell. You got Alvarez, Fernandez, and Jason Beret, who's got a great fastball. He really showed it off here in Atlanta when they had that exhibition game here. I think that's the best staff in the American League. Also, they have Hernandez as the closer, who was very effective last year. Chicago, I think, has got the best staff over there and the second best in baseball.
Okay.
I also like that Houston club. I think their pitching is really good also, with Drabek, Swindell, Kyle, and Pete Harnish, who I think is a fine, strong right-handed pitcher.
Every one of those guys struggled last year except Kyle, though. I think we'll have to see if they can all right themselves this year.
I'll tell you what, Harnish was tough on the Braves. They had a hard time with him. That's a good pitcher.
Okay, where do you guys think we can expect to see the best race for the pennant?
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I'm going to go with American League East. I think that's clearly the strongest division in baseball. You got Baltimore, Toronto. I think they're both going to fight it out for first place. You could throw in the Yankees and Boston, two very good also-ran teams. I think clearly that I think Baltimore's going to win the division, and I would pick Toronto to be the wild card in the American League.
Well, I'm going to pick Toronto to win that division over there until I see them lose. But I think you're right. I think that's the best race in baseball coming up this year. I think that you got three great teams and a lot of hitting, and that's with New York, Toronto, and Baltimore. Baltimore made some great acquisitions in the offseason. They got Rafael Palmeiro at first base. They have Chris Sabo over from the Reds playing third. If he can stay healthy. Now, remember, in Cincinnati, Jeff, he was playing on that artificial junk up there and getting hurt on that. And here it is. He's going to be over there at Camden Yards where they're on grass. I think that's going to maybe give him a chance to play almost a full season this year.
Maybe he'll probably play 20 or 25 more games than he would have played in Cincinnati this year.
And in that lineup, he may see a lot of fastballs.
Exactly, and it's a nice hitter's ballpark, too. You forgot Lee Smith. They added him.
That's right, Lee Smith, and that's something that they're going to need because Toronto has a stopper with Dwayne Ward, the former Brave. New York, I don't know. New York's going to have to find something, but they have a whole lot of hitting. This Baltimore club, if they can get a great year out of Mussina and keep them healthy, and if Ben McDonald will stop giving up all those home runs in that cozy little park, Baltimore can compete. They can win a lot of games.
Okay. Jeff mentioned that Toronto being a wild card. What do you think, Ty?
Toronto, my pick is to win the East, and I think the wild card over there is going to be Baltimore. I'm going to pick them over the Yankees, even though I really like the Yankees club a lot. I just don't think they have the established stopper yet.
Well, their entire pitching staff, they've got some big names on that Yankee staff, but they just can't seem to put it all together at one time. Jim Abbott has sort of struggled, although he pitched a no-hitter at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll see.
We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes. Who do you think is going to win the NFL East this year now that Coach Johnson's retired and replaced the Dallas Cowboys?
All right.
Okay.
Who's going to win the NFC East?
Well, I still think Dallas is loaded. I still think they have a whole lot of football players over there. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You got a great running back who I put in the top three. I don't think he's the best, but certainly I rate him in the top three. And Dallas seems to just play big-time defense. I thought that they were really going to be hurt when they lost Dave Wannstedt, their defensive coordinator. And let's just face it, Dallas has people over there that know what they're doing. I think Jimmy Johnson had a whole lot to do with that, but, I mean, it's not like he left the cupboard bare over there. There's a lot of good football players.
Well, unfortunately, I think the cupboard doors are still open, though. They're still losing players. It looks like Michael Irvin may leave. Emmitt Smith expressed some unhappiness over there with the new coach. And you know Troy Aikman transferred from Oklahoma because he didn't like Switzer. So Tony Casillas has already signed with the Chiefs. I mean,
well, you know, that's just the key word. They haven't left yet. And that means they're still there. But over there in that division, I think Dallas is still one of the more talented teams. I think New York can give them a run. And New York's a good football team, and I think they've got one of the best running backs, Rodney Hampton. And personally, I think it's going to go down between those two teams again this year.
I think the Giants should be able to beat them out this year just because of the bad attitude that Jerry Jones has created over in Dallas.
I think when the season gets started, I think you'll start seeing that bad attitude leave a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's easy to say these guys are professionals and need to go out and play, but you know, when you're dealing with emotions and stuff, they all come into play also. Sometimes the best team doesn't win.
Well, that happens a lot.
Okay, we have another phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
What I want to know, since the Braves got all these good pitchers, do you think they might start getting a little jealous of each other?
Well, again, you're looking at an attitude situation. Personally, I think that they have a nice mix of veterans and young players. I really can't see why these people would be getting jealous of one another. I mean, let's face it, this team has a very good chance of winning the World Series.
Exactly.
Why do you want your egos to get in the way of that? I mean, you're going to need those pitchers. And, I mean, that's just an awesome staff. They've just got great contributions from the young players. And, of course, the veterans, McGriff and Justice. just provide great leadership, I think. I think McGriff and also Pendleton, when you talk about leadership, I think McGriff is such a good player, and he's just the epitome of a pro. That's who I really like on that team a lot.
Well, I think the key to curing this jealousy problem in the clubhouse is winning ball games, and the Braves are 7-0, so obviously I don't think there's any jealousy problem. You mentioned the young players. Are they jealous of each other playing and some not playing? Well, these 4 rookies that are on the team should thank their lucky stars that they're on a National League Championship caliber club and that they're up playing in the big leagues. So.
Yeah, I think they figured it out, or at least I'm sure someone's told them that too. John Sherholtz knows what he's doing. I think he's the second best baseball man out there. I think Gillick at Toronto is the best one because he's got the results. He's got 2 World Series rings. I mean, Sherholtz doesn't have one with Atlanta.
Exactly. Okay, I'd like to thank our last 2 callers for the call. And again, remind our viewers that this is a live show. So if you have any questions, give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, guys, let's talk about the Hawks. What are their chances for home court advantage going into the playoffs?
When I look at it, I don't think it's very good. I think the Knicks are going to have the home court advantage, to be honest with you. The Knicks and the Hawks are tied for the lead in the Eastern Conference. And then the Bulls are a game behind. The Bulls are playing really well right now. All 3 teams have 7 games left. The Bulls have 4 at home. The Knicks and the Hawks each have 3 at home. The Bulls have the easiest run. Each of these teams has to play one another. The Bulls have the advantage there. They get New York and Atlanta both at home. New York has to go to Chicago. They get Atlanta at home. So that tells you right there Atlanta has both games on the road. I think it's going to be a very tough road for Atlanta, and I think that they might not even win their own division.
That's interesting. Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Calling you on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, you're on the air.
All right. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Uh-oh! Who could that be? Is that Jay Marks?
Sounds like Jay.
Hey, who's on the show with you?
Well, we can't hear you very good, Jay.
And the Braves are up. They're pounding the Giants. 5-3. Bonds is 2 for 3. Crowd hates them. The worst part of the game is the beers are $4.
Hey, that is the worst part.
It's an outrage.
You need to go to Dirty Al's and get some better beer.
Yeah. Hey, I was wondering if all the Stanley Cup games are going to be in the Dirty House.
Are all the Stanley Cup games on Dirty Al's? I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they got to be. I mean, the owner loves hockey. He's a Rangers fan. If you can love the Rangers through all that they've gone through, you're a hockey fan.
I want to say, a lot of people have been saying the Braves are going to go undefeated. I think that's unrealistic. I think they're going to finish 159-3.
Jay, you never go out on a limb, do you?
Can we quote you on that?
The line for the phone's longer than a line for the $4 beer.
I think Jay has maybe spent about $25 in beer. Hey, buddy, thanks for the phone call.
Okay.
Well, he sounds like he's having a good time.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it sounds like the vendors are making a lot of money, too.
We were talking about the Hawks and their chances of finishing
Right.
first. I agree with Ty. Their chances are not very good, but I think Chicago, they're on such a roll here that I think they may overtake the Hawks and the Knicks.
I don't think they're going to overtake the Knicks. I think that New York, first of all, it depends on how they play. They're a very streaky team. And New York, when they're playing poorly, can lose games at home to teams they're not supposed to lose to, like they lost to Orlando by 8 points. But when they're playing well, and they did just go on a major streak to get where they were, and they did that without John Starks, this is a team that can really put people away when they do decide to play well.
Well, I think the Hawks, they just look like a tired basketball team here lately. They don't seem to be running the floor quite as well. Their passes aren't as crisp. I think they're sort of running out of gas here at the end of the season. They had about 4 or 5 days off here. Didn't they just play last Saturday night?
That could be a good point, but when you talk about running out of gas, I think Wilkins understands that and has tried to do something about it and played more of his bench. But when you play more of your bench, you have Venus Watley out there running that team instead of Mookie Blaylock. During the beginning and middle of the season, it would be rare if you saw the Hawks have well over 10 turnovers. But now that you're seeing other people run the show out there, they're having a lot more turnovers. This team makes a lot of floor mistakes when Mookie's not running the show out there. They've got to have Blaylock out there a lot, and that may change in the playoffs. And that's one of the reasons I don't think the Hawks are going to in any way be in this championship series. I think the Eastern Conference Championship is going to come down between New York and Chicago.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Calling on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how y'all doing?
All right.
I had a quick question about the Falcons here. We got the possibility of acquiring Dishman and Dolman. How realistic do you think that possibility is? And don't you think that that would just be a mind-boggling trade for the Falcons if we could get rid of Pritchard and Dion?
That'd be unbelievable if they can pull that off. I don't think they can get both of those players in here, though. I don't know what the salary cap situation is.
Yeah, I was about to say I think this is going to be a money issue. And first of all, I don't think you can have two quarterbacks earning the amount of money that they're earning, plus getting two guys like that in here and being able to pay them. So right now, I really don't think it's very realistic unless they make some changes somewhere else on the team.
Do you have any idea what Dishman is asking, or for that matter, Dolman? Is it anywhere near the salary that we're paying Pritchard right now and Dion? I know we're paying Dion well more than what Dolman would be asking.
I think you're right. I think Pritchard right now earns something like between $700,000 and $800,000, and so I think Dolman would be asking for a lot more than that. I mean, that's an established All-Pro player.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
All right, thanks
Okay,
for the call.
thanks for the call.
That's going to be a pretty sly move for the Falcons if they pull it off by letting Pritchard go to Pittsburgh, taking that #1 draft pick, and then turn around and trade it for Chris Dolman.
Oh, that would be a great move, but I think what's going to happen is that you're going to have to get rid of a quarterback. And I really think that that's what the Falcons had in mind when they got Jeff George, is that they think that he can play maybe just as well as Hebert and not have to pay nearly as much money. I think it was strictly a financial move.
Okay. All right. We were talking about the Hawks, and you guys said that they look like a dead team and everything. Do you think that comment that was made today in the papers kind of steamed them up about them not being good at home?
But the TV analyst.
Well, I think, first of all, the Hawks are like 21st in the league in attendance. So if a place is going to be hard to play at, it's loud. And the Omni is just not a loud place. I mean, I've gone to about 5 or 6 games this year, and the crowd just really doesn't get into the game that much as a bunch of people from New York City would. I mean, let's face it, a New York City crowd is always going to be a lot louder than anything else because they have so many obnoxious people up there. I mean, that's just honesty, and they'll be the first ones to admit it. When you look at the Hawks, I think that what they're going to have to do is, first of all, keep their people healthy. And having Danny Manning really hurt this team when they were recently out on the West Coast, and they just found themselves losing games that they shouldn't have lost. But when they have injuries to one of those 3 players, Manning, Willis, or Blaylock, they're in trouble. And more than likely, I think they're going to lose.
Disagree. But we have a phone call.
They've been losing without them.
Thank you for calling. Calling on the air. Hello?
Yes, I would like to know financially, are the Hawks a better deal by having Danny Manning?
I think it's basically it's a washout pretty much, except Manning's a younger player who's already under contract, and wasn't Wilkins going to be a free agent at the end of the year?
No, I think Wilkins had one.
Or is it vice versa?
Or no, wait a minute. I think they got to sign Manning after this year. I think both of their contracts ended this year.
I think the money is about the same for each player, though.
Yeah, I agree. Wilkins, I think, may have been earning a little bit more, thanks to his buddy John Concack. All right, thanks for the phone call. I thought he was about to say something else.
Okay, what about the Hawks having like the second best record in the league for his home games winning?
Well, that is an excellent record, and they've, like we've been preaching all along on the show this season, the Hawks have been one of the better home teams this year. The only team I think that's got a better home record is Seattle, and they got the best record overall. But the thing is that I think the Hawks are just not as nearly as good as they were in the middle of the season. I think Jeff is right. I think they're a little bit tired, and I don't think that the bench play has just not been that good.
I'm going to take issue a little bit about the attendance figures. I think it's picked up in the second half of the year. I know their average is 21st in the league, but I think probably if you took the second half attendance averages, they probably be around the top 10.
Well, you're always going to have that happen when a team is a very average team last year and barely made the playoffs and got swept by the Bulls, and now they're all of a sudden competing for the Eastern Conference Championship. I mean, of course, people are going to start coming out to the games,
Well,
but still, they're not selling them out.
Let's not forget this is bandwagon city here.
Yeah,
too.
it is.
Exactly. Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Calling on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
This is concerned Mr. Sanders and Mr. Pritchard. I do believe Mr. Sanders is better in baseball than he is in football. And Mr. Pritchard cannot win all the football games by himself.
Well, I agree. It's pretty hard to win a football game by yourself. There's no doubt about that. I'll agree with that 100%. Personally, I think Deion, if he went and played football full time, I think he'd be in the Hall of Fame. I think he is that good of a player. I think that if he played the whole time, he would be the best defensive back in the game right now. He can do so many things for you that I just think he would be a Hall of Fame player.
I like him in baseball, Bethel.
Well, I like him in baseball, too. I really love him when he's up with men on base.
Yeah, thank you for talking.
Okay,
All right,
thanks for the
phone
call.
call.
I think it's just because it's baseball season now. That's why he likes him in baseball better. But
Yeah, in football season, you're starting to think, I wish he were
He'd
out here as
look
well.
good in the corner over there.
Yeah,
wouldn't
especially when you see those guys getting burned on 50-yard passes.
Okay, in the race for the Eastern Conference, who has the easier road?
Oh, I definitely think it's New York, simply because they're tied for first. Atlanta's got the toughest schedule. Chicago's got the easiest schedule, but they're a game back. Joe, I think that New York club's going to win it all.
he? Well, I think Chicago's on such a run now that they may overtake him here in the last week.
Okay, I think you guys should watch the Hawks and see what they're going to do.
I'd love to be wrong on that.
Okay, the Hawks have an interesting schedule coming up. On Wednesday, they will face Cleveland at Atlanta at 7:30, and it'll be on TBS. Then they will face Milwaukee at Milwaukee Friday at 9 o'clock,
They better not fall asleep in that one.
followed by Philadelphia at Atlanta Saturday at 7:30 on TBS. So, what do you guys think they're going to do?
Well, I think they could, and they need to win all three of those games. I think that if they're going to give themselves any of a chance to compete for the Eastern Conference Championship, that they need to win all three of those games.
I think it can be done.
So I say let's wrap this up and head over to Dirty Owls and get us a beer.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Let's go. Okay, I'd like to thank you guys and thank our callers and viewers. And we'll see you next week. Well, you'll watch our shows from preseason next week. And
We'll be back in, 4 weeks?
exactly, mid-May. Thank you.